we have another wonderful question now. Not to start with a question, but many of you have also asked, how do we ask a question? Well, I'm glad you asked. Go and visit my website, akulfhefnar.com. You can see it spelled down there at the bottom of our store. Our store, of course, being store.akulfhefnar.com. But you can visit that website. Way down at the bottom to the left would be a big orange button that says Ask Me a Question. And that way, if I answer your question on the air, you, like Michael, today will get a free shirt. A free support t-shirt that you can wear. You can cover a chair with it. You can do whatever you'd like. It's your shirt, right? So feel free to stop by the website, drop in those questions, and if I read yours, I'll get your address and we'll send you a shirt right away. All right? So that's between you and I. All right? Today, Michael asks, why is my Norse culture so important? He goes on to say in his email that other people have said, well, culture is not so important, this, that, and the other thing, and it's just a way of segregation and separation. And yeah, no. All right. Culture is so much more than just, knickknacks and some things you pick up on certain holidays. Culture goes much deeper than that. Because remember, back in the day, long before monotheism came to be, certainly before the monotheistic practices, one's culture embraced everything about you, right? So the way you dressed, the way you spoke, the way you acted is socially, what you celebrated. In addition to your spiritual beliefs, scratch that, your spiritual understandings, okay? Because you were taught from a very young age when the cultures were thriving. Like I said, long before monotheistic practices came to be, we had this really family orientation, right? So we learned about who the gods were, what they did, why we called upon them. All of those things we would learn as part of our lives. It wasn't separated between our physical life, our working hard every day, and our spiritual life. There was no difference between them. They were tied together. Now, in my case, my culture, my embracing of my family ancestry brings me closer to them so I can understand more about what they believed and why they believed it. And I feel closer to my ancestors. So this is why I choose to engulf myself, just totally immerse myself in the culture of the Danes. Now, in my case, I am a third generation born American. Prior to that, my great-grandmother was born in Bjerrebysund, Denmark, northern Denmark. And before her, 53 generations of men were born in Bjerrebysund. So, this goes back a very long time, right? Now, on the other side of my great-grandparents, my great-grandmother on the other side of my father's line, she was born in Lismore, Waterford County, Ireland. Now, if we think historically about Waterford, we come up with the idea, well, not the idea, we come up with the facts that Waterford was actually settled by Danes during the age of the Vikings. Well, just at the beginning of the age of the Vikings, all right? And so these Danes came to Ireland, saw how beautiful it was, because, of course, it is the Emerald Isle, and settled and said, nope, this is home. We're good. Done. This is where we're going to be forever. Okay? And so, in much the same way, you see, there are many other towns around Ireland that were settled by these Danes who were looking for new lands, new resources, right? And so, that's what they did. And so, my Danish ancestry comes at me from two different angles, all right? And, you know, everyone says, oh, well, you got to do the genealogy DNA thing. Well, okay, fine. I did do that. I did that just to make some other people be quiet. But in it, I found that, you know, I was 80%, I think, 80% Germanic Dane. I didn't need an expensive test to prove this, for I already knew. My great-grandmother was from Denmark. My great-grandmother was from Ireland. So there wasn't a whole lot of proof I needed. But nonetheless, I did it, and it proved to me exactly what I had already known, which was, this is my ancestry. Now, in the same breath as I say, oh, well, these are my ancestors, and I'm good, we don't speak to just our ancestors. And that's where a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, I have to speak because I'm this or that. I have to speak with my ancestry, my blood ancestry. And that's not the case. You can speak with any ancestors. All you have to do is open your heart. Okay? The ancestors will speak to you. They'll educate you. They'll inform you. They'll teach you. That's what they can do. Right? They can help you. And that's the beauty of ancestors. Now, do I speak with other ancestors? Absolutely. I speak with all forms of ancestry, whether it be Norse, Irish, Scottish. I have a few ancestors that go back in France and in, what is that, Africa? Yeah, I guess that would be the African, South African trade that came in, sometimes unbeknownst to them, would come into like New Orleans. And we would spend an early part of my childhood, I would live in New Orleans, and we would have relatives from that area. And so my mother's family, of course, being West Virginia, and South. Okay, so a lot of French there, a lot of indigenous tribes involved in that. And so when I'm speaking, to my ancestors, I'm not just speaking to those with whom I'm blood related. I'm speaking to all the ancestors because they're all related. We're all one people. When we leave this physical form and we ascend to the spiritual realm, we're instantly connected to everyone. All right? Every other spiritual entity we can have conversations with. Hours and hours and, well, of course, they don't keep track of time, but it would be hours and hours if we were here on Earth because I've spent hours and hours in communications with them. Now, many people say, well, do you hear voices, right? Trying to get me to admit to being crazy. Well, I'm the farthest thing you can get from crazy. And I don't need to hear their actual voices. I know what they're saying. I hear it just as if I'd heard it with my audio sense, with my ears. I hear it, right? I hear it in my brain. My heart filters up this signal that says, hey, What about this? And generally, these messages that I receive in this way are, wisdom. Hey, have you thought about doing this in your life? Have you thought about doing that in your life? What about this? What about this other thing? Some emotional knowledge, maybe some teachings. So, hey, I know you feel really bad about this right now, but it's going to get better, and so on and so forth. And and certainly when I'm really feeling blue and just really beat down, it's been a tough week, they come to me and they give me that nod and they say, we're real proud of what you've done. We're real proud of what you're doing. Pick your spirits up. Pick your chin up, boy. And helps me to move forward. So, while I don't hear voices, it's as if I hear a voice. My brain processes it in the same way that it would if someone spoke to me. Sometimes they're just gentle nudges. Hey, look over there. Hey, have you thought about this? Sometimes they're more direct. You need to get better at communication. You need to express yourself. You need to make sure that you're feeling your emotion, that you're really experiencing that emotion. Okay? And that's what I work on. I sit down and I focus on what am I feeling and why am I feeling it. So, ancestry is a critical part of our spiritual exploration, of our spiritual understanding, and it's certainly going to unlock the length of our consciousness, right? So we're going to stem all the way back into our spiritual brain to where we're communicating with both planes at the same time. So, culture isn't as important as it is communicating with our ancestors. And if that means that I dress, talk, walk, act, and maybe even to some degree pretend to be of a certain culture, that I may communicate, I may hear better my ancestors and what their plans are for me. Don't know if we all remember this, but we are the completion of a dream for our ancestors. I mean, we are the blessings that they prayed to the gods for in antiquity. They prayed for us. And yet, here we are. And so, now, they're going to help us. We just got to be willing to listen with our heart. All right? So, Michael, my culture is important to me because it helps me focus on my ancestors. It helps me focus on all of our ancestors, starting with my own. It helps me to understand that communication trail between me and them. All right? And so that's really when we talk about, absorbing this culture and really adopting all the parts and pieces of it that are legal nowadays. We're talking about attempting to set our frame of mind in such a way that we can communicate more clearly with our ancestors. Right? And that's really what it's all about. That's really why I claim that I am a Norse man. I'm a Norse descendant. I'm a descendant of 53 generations of individuals born in Bjerrebysund, Denmark, and at least 13 generations born in Waterford, Ireland. So yes, it's important to me, but it's important to me that I may come to know how to communicate with the ancestors. All right. Well, I hope that answers your question, Michael. And I look so forward to getting your shirt in the mail first thing tomorrow morning. You'll have it in no time, maybe even for Christmas, but don't count on it. But it'll certainly be there before the new year. So I hope that all of you have an understanding that if there is something in your mind that's just you can't seem to resolve, you can't seem to get an answer, you can't seem to get to the truth, ask me. Let's investigate it together that we may learn. Because remember, if you have a question, there are many others out there who have the same question, who are afraid to ask. And you, my friend, have courage. And you're courageously going forward in your life to make it better. And that is completely commendable. That is honorable. Right? Well, as we depart this evening, I want to thank you again for all of you who like, follow, subscribe, do all the super secret handshakes with all these super secret platforms. And I would ask, if you get the chance, stop by our store.akulfhefner.com. You can also go to norsewhispers.com, where you can find a link over to our store. And just shop around. There are things there that you can use as a totem to help you focus your energy and find your ancestry. There's other things there. There's potions for natural healing. There's potions for inflammation. So there's all types of benefits out there awaiting you to help you associate with your family ancestry, with your culture, and certainly with the ancestors. All right, my friends, enjoy the rest of your Mane Day, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow for what? That's right, Tyr's Day, where we celebrate the Norse god Tyr. Love and light, my friends.